and the community of Montgomery. As we prepare for a new school year, I'm looking forward to engaging with everyone in every space possible. In the coming days, we'll be announcing the details of my 100-day entry plan for MPS. As we launch this plan, I look forward to listening and learning as much as possible so we can ensure that we gather as much perspective as we can to help build a stronger school district. My goals include establishing 21st century-oriented academic excellence, ensuring safe and secure schools, being committed to fiscal accountability, and creating classroom spaces to allow children to feel connectedness, belonging, and support. Your engagement and feedback are crucial to the success of our students and their futures. Montgomery, let's get to work together to reach our goals. MPS is on the rise, and I know our academic success will reach monumental heights as we move forward. I want to thank you for the opportunity to work with this community and to engage in doing wonderful things for our students and for their futures. I am so thankful for you. MPS is rising.
Ready to start eating healthier? Meet Kachava. Kachava is the world's healthiest all-in-one meal shake. A complete meal in seconds.
Montgomery is rising. Hi, I'm Dr. Melvin J. Brown, Superintendent of Montgomery Public Schools. It is indeed my pleasure to serve the children and the community of Montgomery. As we prepare for a new school year, I'm looking forward to engaging with everyone in every space possible. In the coming days, we'll be announcing the details of my 100-day entry plan for MPS. As we launch this plan, I look forward to listening and learning as much as possible so we can ensure that we gather as much perspective as we can to help build a stronger school district. My goals include establishing 21st century-oriented academic excellence, ensuring safe and secure schools, being committed to fiscal accountability, and creating classroom spaces to allow children to feel connectedness, belonging, and support. Your engagement and feedback are crucial to the success of our students and their futures. Montgomery, let's get to work together to reach our goals. MPS is on the rise, and I know our academic success will reach monumental heights as we move forward. I want to thank you for the opportunity to work with this community and to engage in doing wonderful things for our students and for their futures. I am so thankful for you. MPS is rising.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I see we have a quorum tonight. Can we get an approval of this agenda for this work session?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
All in favor with a show of hands? Okay. And we have a lot of information to receive tonight. Can we start with Mr. Slater with Vokert?
Good evening. Thank you. We got another PowerPoint presentation for you tonight. We can just go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. We've got, this is some milestones I just wanted to lay out as part of our designed processes. There's schematic design, which is the first phase. It provides a building layout for the location on the site and a basic floor plan. And then after that is done, the next phase is the design development or the preliminary plan, which has more detailed plans, floor plans, and the site plan, as well as descriptions of mechanical systems, electrical systems, and such as that. The next phase is called the construction documents phase or the final plan. And this would include all of the plans with all the information required to be able to bid the job and build the buildings. Next slide. Our current status on the projects: Highland Gardens, the renovation and gym addition. The schematic design has been completed and submitted to the DCM for review. And we're also working with the Parks and Rec on the land use around that building. Part of the site right there is real tight, and Parks and Rec has their community center, and quite a bit of the property that looks like it's the schools is actually Parks and Rec. Then Blunt Elementary and Halcyon Elementary, both of those schematic designs have been sent to DCM for review, and I'll show you the floor plans later on in the presentation. Baldwin is still at the point of preliminary work for the base drawings. Carver Elementary, as well as Carver High School, which is on the next slide. The design is progressing well. The surveys have been completed, and the schematics should be ready by the end of the month. Jeff Davis High, we've had our architects started on the job now and have a basic location plotted out on there, and I'll have some floor plans over that probably in a month as well. Southbound Middle is progressing on the design. Flowers Elementary, we had a design meeting today with architects trying to locate the new building. We're trying to put it to the side of the existing building to where everybody can stay in operation while the school's being built. McMillan Academy, the gymnasium for it, meeting with the architects tomorrow, and they'll have a basic floor plan to show at that time. The Park Crossing High project, we met with the architects on site last week to start having them put together the ideas of where the building needs to be located. The Children's Center design is underway. I'm showing Katoma and Nixon is underway. They actually are not due to start until early next year. Lee High School is, we're still working on land. The attorneys are working on the sales agreement. Highland Avenue Elementary, Capitol Heights, Crump, and Dozier are all slated to start in 23 and 24. Floyd Middle here, the architects have started the base drawings on the existing school to where we can start doing the renovation work and siting the gymnasium for this one as well. The following Vaughn, Ware, Ferry, Brubaker, Danley, Fitzpatrick are still, waiting to get started. Morris, South Lawn, Chisholm, Forest Avenue are the same. Bear, the architect, has started the base drawings to be able to get ready for the renovations, as well as Martin Luther King, Davis, Johnson, Dalreda, Garrett, Morning View Elementary are all slated to start later during the program. This slide is the Halcyon Elementary site. The road at the top of the site right there is the Parkview Drive, and the site for the new elementary school is going to be adjacent to the latest addition to the right of the school. And we'll have to adjust the entry drive to where we've got a spot for the cars to come in at that point. This is a blown up floor plan of it here, where it's tied in to the end of the existing addition, showing the coach's office at the top there, and storage in the middle, the stage to the far end of it, and the bleachers. We've got 3 restrooms that we'll need to put inside it to get our restroom count up right. This is the Blunt Elementary site, and where it'll be is to the right as you're facing the school head on. And again, this is the blown up floor plan of it with the same amenities as the other one. And you'll notice that we've got an enclosed walkway now instead of or an enclosed corridor instead of a breezeway that will be connecting it to the school. The same at Halcyon. Our short-term look ahead is continue with schematics on the first group of jobs or projects, complete the land acquisition, and get the surveys finished for the first group and start with the second group as soon as they get finished, to where we can be able to turn them over to the architects without a delay at that point. And we'll also be doing the subsurface exploration of the soils. Next slide, please. Now, our MBE, DBE reporting. We're currently, next slide, 19,897,000 in professional services contracts have been let, and out of that, 10,482,000 are to MBE, DBE participants, or roughly 53%. Next slide, please. We have any questions?
Any questions?
And I know this is moving forward, but for some of the schools, for the gym additions to them that may have portables in the back, is there going to be something that will, adjustments made, or how would that look as once you build those gyms with the portables? Have you all begun discussing that?
Some that have portables, we're hoping that we will not have portables at the end of it, and that we'll be able to relocate them or sell them off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson, facilities update?
Good evening, Dr. Brown, President Wheel, Vice President Mitchell, and members of the board. If you'll look at your spreadsheet, we'll follow along. We've heard from the Volker capital project update. The central office consolidation, you can see there that we've completed the roof on the 3-story building with approximately 90% of the MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing completed on the 2nd and 3rd floor. They're really close to finishing that up here. This week, some of the stuff that you've seen, if you were by there yesterday, you saw a large crane setting the rooftop units on top of there. That is the last little 10% of connecting the MEP that will come off of those, down those metal pieces that are going down the side of the building. Those will be chases that will be covered with metal once it'll come long metal sheets that'll be more decorative and kind of update and modernize the look of that building. We've got about 80 to 90% of the MEP completed on the first floor. Sheetrock is done on the second and third floor. They're beginning the first floor a little bit slower on that. There's more sheetrock work in there, but they have completed about 70% of the finishing of the sheetrock. That's the mud and the sanding on the second and third floor. So it's going well on those areas on that. They've completed the roof on Building A, which is the small CMP maintenance building. The school utilized it for like a PE building on the east side of Union Street. That is complete. I got that update today as we came in. That's why it's not on your spreadsheet there, but things are progressing well on that. We're waiting on the kitchen hood for the test kitchen that'll be going into the CMP area of the old cafeteria. Once the curbs come in and we can mount those, they'll be able to re-roof that part of it, and then the inside will be able to be worked on. They're moving on the different things that they have to input over there with the loading dock and the elevator shaft and that sort of thing on that building while they can't get in there and do sheetrock work, but it is progressing well with that. We did run into an issue with the footings of the old building that burned. There was more of that we're having to remove. That'll be in a future change order with that to set the parking lot and all like we need to there, but that will be taken care of. We've been pretty good as far as offsetting a lot of these change orders with deductions as well, so you'll see those come along with it as well. So I'm really pleased that we've been able to remove some things, and while we're having to do some of these renovations, anytime you're doing renovations with these old buildings and you're opening up things that you can't really see, an architect or an engineer can't see until it's opened up, there's always some hidden things there. That was the case with Building A and the roof decking that was there. There was more water damage and rust that they had not seen with that. So it's somewhat anticipated with there. A good rule of thumb is if you can stay under 20% on change orders with a renovation, you're doing pretty good. Under 10% on a new building, you're doing really good. And I think we're at roughly 2 or 3% on the renovation there, and we're about 1% on the Holy Cross project, where the new BTW will be going. The Brubaker Dozier mansard roof, we're still experiencing some delays. If you were out at those locations, those main entrances, still waiting on the metal to come in with that. Anticipate that to be hopefully soon, and then they'll work around us like on the weekends or at night to put that on so there's no students or staff around. The T.S. Moore South Lawn middle roofs are both complete. The BTW construction update there, all of the Magnet Arts and the Black Box Theater are now in the dry. They've started, and what that means, the roof is on and we're not getting water penetration on the decking or whatever on that, so we're able to do some of the finishing on the inside. So they're fast and furious on that. I was there yesterday and saw a lot of the sheetrock work going up. They're starting to set some of the glass in the storefront around the back side of the building. They've measured all the glass that they need to for those areas, and they're starting to really work on the inside of those. The gymnasium is moving along. A lot of the framing, the stud walls, the studs are done on that, and they're trying to get it closed as quick as they can. They have to roll a little bit more metal for the cafeteria, and then they have to roll the metal for the roof on the gymnasium, and they'll come back and set those as well here in the near future and get that done, hopefully before the next update. The Goodwin HVAC project, yesterday met with the engineers and their decorator as far as the look of the metal panels and the window frames and all there. So we picked those out to give it an updated look, and so they could order those things. It'll fit some of the same kind of things that you're seeing around the district, like the new windows at the central office and the ones out there at BTW, kind of give it a standardized, uniform look and bring it up to date as well on those. The Brewtech HVAC, again, same there with the Goodwin materials, just waiting on those. I've been working with the principals in both areas as far as phasing those projects in to get it done as quickly as we can. And that's going to be the tough part is we were hoping to get started this summer, but with material delays, it's going to be a school time start, and then a heavy push in the summer to try to finish those up and work on those while we're working on the design for Brubaker Intermediate and Brubaker Primaries HVAC. We're just about through with the intermediate and expecting to get those, get that material ordered and coming so that we can start work on that one in the summer as well. The logistics roof and renovation, we held a pre-construction meeting there on 7/6. Again, waiting on materials to get started on those things and getting going with those. You have a roof that's going to be redone. They got to do new roof drains because they didn't line the roof drains up with the drains inside, so we're going to rework those. Some mechanical, electrical, and plumbing on the inside as well, and a little bit of a build out inside to get rid of that portable that sits outside of the warehouse there. It's literally falling in two pieces, coming apart in the middle, and so and it's also a break-in hazard. They're going to also do some things on the backside. Some of the external doors that aren't used on the backside, we're going to roll up doors. We're going to block those in. They are also a major break-in hazard. I know when we ordered all those devices back in the beginning of the pandemic, we had to have security stay there overnight because of the break-in hazard that's out there. So this should help remedy some of those things and get them in a dry place where a lot of our records, financial and HR, are stored. The Vaughn Road fascia repair, that's completed. If you've been by there, you'll see the new sidewalks that are on the side there too, where they repaired and replaced those. Part of the issue that the architect was noticing on that was some of the slope on that on the concrete pathway. The sidewalks was actually pushing the water up to the foundation, which we think that's probably caused some of our issues out there. They took steps to try to remedy that and take care of it, and it is one of the roofs that we have planned for this year as well to try to replace as well this year with that. The Katoma roof repair is going well. It's getting cleaned up on the inside. They were finishing up the stud work on the inside, the furring out, and a lot of the duct work has been hung through the middle. They've got to do the drop connections that go throughout the drop ceiling, and then they'll install the drop ceiling and the lighting and do the little bit of painting that they have to do right there in that area. It's not a lot of painting, but a little bit. Hopefully, we're hoping that'll be completed here within the next 2 weeks. We'll be back to a normal mode of operation there at Katoma. I know it's been a while for them. Principals have been great to work with, very patient, and glad we're getting that taken care of. We did go on and re-roof the entire cafeteria instead of trying to just piece it together. It was a few $1,000s more. I thought it was well worth it. That roof was getting close to its life expectancy, and we were able to go on and replace that and take care of it, so that'll be one less issue on our plate, and it'll be less when we got to re-roof that building as well. The Bellingrath water damage, they have them in their classrooms and back going again. We still have a little bit to do. Some of the rubber cove base that goes at the bottom was delayed, that forest green color. So we're just kind of waiting on that. They'll work around the students coming in on the weekends. We've been doing that about the last 3 weeks, coming in each weekend to try to get ahead and get them in. We still have a little bit of push there to go, but we're in the classrooms and going right now. And I want to thank Logistics for helping pitch in that project as well. They really helped us come through with some of those things, that the little details to get us ready for that, and we'll continue to work on those things. And then I just wanted to show you some pictures. If you noticed your packet on the McKee middle gym floor, we were able to refinish that this summer and get that looking good. You can see some before and after, and we're looking forward. We're going to replace their scoreboard, working with Dr. Fenderson on that. And then the community centers worked with the city. They're looking to replace all the scoreboards in the community centers as well for our schools that are impacted by those. One thing that I was not able to get on the update because I received some of the information a little bit late. We've been working on the EV bus details, electric vehicle buses. Went to a showing of that up in Birmingham with our vendor International that we purchase our buses through on the state contract. Very cool vehicles. They are very expensive, but they're very cool. There's a EPA Clean Bus grant program that's out there. When I spoke to them, when I went to the little showing that we had on that, they felt that the timing, it was one part of it was ending on the 19th of this month. They felt we were a little close, so it's going to roll over again after the 19th, and we're going to be working with some of their folks to see about a grant to get some of those buses on site and see what we can do as far as getting something in our hands so that we can kind of prepare for the future, let our mechanics see it, let our drivers see it, get used to it, be able to work with those. Some of the details on it, the 72 passenger bus is around $300,000 to $350,000. A typical 72 passenger bus diesel like we use is about $80,000 to $90,000. They're working on the special needs specifications that we have. I'll have a quote on that, and I'll share that with you when I receive that for information, probably in our Friday updates with those things. The maintenance cost, the tires are a little more expensive on an electric vehicle because they place more rubber in the center of them than a typical vehicle. There's more torque that is pushed out on those electrical vehicles that pushes down on the ground, so you have to have a little different tire with that. So there is a little more charge in those. There's a coolant flush that you do every 5 years with it, and an air compressor filter change that's done yearly. That's kind of your typical maintenance on those things. You don't have oil changes that you do and that sort of thing, but there is some of those typical maintenance things. They're so new, there's not a lot of data from our international bus vendor to do that, to get with that. Our salesperson that works here locally, he's working with his mechanics to get us some more details on what it would look like on a yearly basis. The battery details, they suggest a DC charging station. The DC charging station is a little more expensive. That's about $90,000 to $100,000 just for the station. You will have to upgrade the service, the electrical service out there at the transportation depot to be able to handle those things, and one of those stations will cover 2 buses. It has a smart sensor with it that when you plug it up, so when you plug it up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock when the bus route ends, it doesn't automatically start charging. What it does is it searches for when you're in your off-peak hours with electricity. Electricity at your own home, you have peak and off-peak. If you can remember, like the old cell phone coverages, when you were on your peak time using minutes, it was much more expensive. When you were on your off-peak, it was cheaper. Similar with electricity. So it plans it and starts your charging on your off-peak time. With the DC chargers, it takes about an hour and a half to charge the bus, and that keeps you in that peak time. If you're off-peak, they estimate the average cost to charge one bus for 1 year is about $10,000. And if you're off-peak, if you can get it on that cheaper rate, it saves you. You'll save about $5,000, and it'll cost about $5,000 per bus to charge that bus for 1 year. The daily one charge will hold you for about 200 miles, and they designed it typically because they knew that most bus routes wouldn't be more than 200 miles. Had lots of questions for them as far as, if I'm taking an athletic trip to Mobile, how would you do that? And they said, right now they really don't have it planned for those longer trips. It's mainly for route trips. So I know they're kind of at their infancy on those things. They did say that they were releasing the big semi-trucks here this year that have a 500-mile radius, and it works on a hydrogen and electric hybrid, so it works on both of those to give them that extended mileage. And I asked, of course, are we going to look at something like that for buses? And they're still it sounds like to me they're kind of dipping their toe in it and working on those things, but they're getting closer to that. But again, we don't want to be behind the curve here, and make sure that we stay ahead of the process. Ask the life expectancy of the buses. They average about 5,000 charging cycles, which on average is about 8 to 14 years is what it would typically last. Of course, we know that some batteries go out quicker than others, and you have issues. One of the packs is about $7,000 to replace. If you had to replace the whole pack for a bus, it's about $40,000. Another question I asked was, battery technology is getting better all the time, smaller, lighter, better heating and cooling on those things. What would that look like 5 years from now? And the way they design the buses is that they could just remove that big battery pack out and plug in the new battery packs, the newer styles with those. So they are thinking ahead where, 5 years down the road, which buses are done on a 10-year cycle. If 5 years down the road there's a new type of battery pack or whatever with it, or if there's a recall or something happens, they'll be able to pull that battery pack out and plug that in. And then again, we'll be working with them starting August the 19th or a little after when they reach out and contact their people. Are going to contact me, and we're going to start working on the grant application with that. We're also looking at their box trucks with this, like we use in logistics. They have those as well. That's what they allowed us to test drive while we were up there. So very cool technology, something that's coming. I think it's something that will be with us for a while for sure, and we need to get ahead of the curve and stay on top of it. And thank Dr. Coleman for pressing us on those things, and we'll keep working on it. Any questions?
Is there potential savings in the life of the bus? I'm trying to figure out, the price is more, the batteries are more, we have to put in charging stations. Is there savings along the way, or is this pretty strictly to be environmentally?
I think at this point, it's more of the environmental push and getting the technology out there, but just like anything, it's going to go down in price. And they feel like that's where it's going to go, where it's going to get more affordable. There's some stuff coming up, I think it's like 2030, where 50% of the vehicles manufactured have to be electric, and then 2035 it's 75%. I think those are the correct years, but it's moving that way. And again, we want to be ahead of the curve on those things and try to put our people in a good position on it. And we want to take advantage of the grants that are out there that don't cost the district, so that we can try to again be ahead of the curve.
Get a jump start on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for the research that you did on the infrastructure side. That was some good information, some things that I did not know the details on. I would like to know, though, first, is there a conflict with seeking grants beyond our current vendor? I know you told me that you were working with our current vendor, but the vendors that we had talked about earlier, did anyone ever look at them to see what they had to offer?
It's the same grant that they're all utilizing, that EPA Clean Bus grant. We like International. We've had good service with them. They're located right here in Montgomery, and they're going to be bringing an EV, like it's going to be one of their main hubs here shortly. And so that's why I kind of started with them, but we will look out besides them as we move forward. And a lot of it has to do with state contract. Like if we don't, then we're going to have to bid it out because they are so expensive. And that can be part of the issue there too with that. We just want to make sure that we're doing what the bid law requires on that part of it also.
Absolutely, okay.
Yes,
well, again, the research on the infrastructure side was wonderful. Has anyone done any research on the health benefits for our students? When we talk about the environment, we're looking at the emissions and the effect that might have on student health issues. And when we look at the student health issues, we look at school attendance rates, et cetera. And all of the research that I read, the benefits to health and school attendance, could offset some of those funds that we were thinking about when it comes down to infrastructure. So have we done any work there?
Not there, no. I really just worked on the bus side of things. It is so new in Alabama. I mean, there's only, I think, maybe 2 districts that have any of them. It's one in northeast Alabama. Can't recall the name of it, but I have that person's number. But they have 2 buses, and I think there's one other district that has a couple of them. But only people that are really using them in Alabama are the smaller districts. They did not see like how Montgomery with 200 buses would fit in right now the way it's set up. They did kind of point towards like California that's ahead of things on the electric vehicles, possibly reaching out and talking to somebody there with those things, but they didn't really get into the health benefits of it with those things.
Thank you. I think that's going to be very important in our making decisions as we move along. But again, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Ms.
the diesel fumes, you won't be around the diesel fumes for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for South Lawn Middle School's parking lot. It looks wonderful. I was there last week at orientation. I sent you a text, so I'm not sure whether you received it, but had questions and inquiries on possibly getting those doors painted from the entryway. But we can talk about that. But thank you so much for the parking lot. It looks great. The second question I have we moved any further in generating a report for our minority businesses for the district?
I did my part on the construction side of it. I think Mr. Watts and his department would have to answer the other vendors that are in use for that with the 2 projects that I have going with BTW and the central office. If you recall, that was at the beginning of the summer. Mm. And then I would also have to defer. I'd like to thank Dr. Brown helping us getting that started over there with South Lawn Middle. We've had some struggles. I know the city's had some turnover and some new faces, and they're kind of getting their feet under the ground.
But it looks great.
But they do a fantastic job when they can get to it. They have one road crew, and we're just trying to work with them as best we can. And Dr. Brown and the mayor have been working together, and really appreciate them helping spur it on.
Pleasantly surprised.
Should be going to South Lawn Elementary here soon, and then I think MLK is after that. We're kind of focused on that west side right now, and working on some of those. Those are some of our older parking lots and most deteriorated, so we're working on those at this point.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'll check with Mr. Watts on the other part.
Yes, ma'am.
One quick thing, Chad,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
EPA or whatever, the buses that you're talking about,
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
the email that we received about the rebate where the applications are due the 18th of this month?
That probably was it. They've sent it out to a bunch of different people, and we've been looking
Are we making that deadline?
We won't make the 18th. It's going to roll over on the 19th. I spoke with those folks. When I went to the meeting up there in Birmingham and viewed the vehicle, they told me at that time, because there's more to it than just filling it out. Like, they have to look at our infrastructure. I have to talk to people with the charging stations. I have to talk to like Alabama Power, and they have to get together. There's some coordination in that grant, and they felt like with just that short amount of time that let's wait until the rollover happens, and then we'll do that, and starting sometime after the 19th of this month.
Okay, other questions? Thank you, things are looking good.
We're getting there, and it's like I tell our principals, I mean, there's going to be pain in the progress. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Some of these renovations and things that we're doing, they're long overdue, and you just can't get them done in a summer, and the principals have been really great to work with. They understand what's going on, and we're trying to meet their needs and get it done as quick as we can.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, we have a passel of agreements to talk about.
Good evening, Dr. Brown, Board Chair Will, Board Assistant Chair Mitchell, Board members. I want to present tonight several items. Presenting number one, receipt of information for the approval of services agreement with Education Forum. It will be a renewal contract using ESSA 3 funds, and the goal with Ed Forum is to expand problem-solving capabilities in our students in challenge-based problem-solving encouraging collaboration and building digital skills. We want to make sure that we go there, and we have Ed Forum here tonight, but we're excited about that partnership. Any questions there?
That's been a really good partnership.
I agree as well. I agree. We're excited in our middle schools, and we're adding Brubaker Intermediate as an additional school to that process. And we're excited about that.
Great question. As we move forward with Ed Farm, will we be moving up to the high schools also?
And that is the goal. We want to share something next month or in October that talks more about the process with Ed Farm after it's approved. We want to share some things that we want to do moving forward.
Okay.
But yes, that's the goal. We're being challenge-based. We love the opportunity for children to be engaged in problem solving. We know that if they learn there as tactile learners, they'll remember. The second item, presenting and receive as information for the approval of the services agreement with Leading and Teaching for Growth. Again, it's a renewal contract using ESSER 3 funds, and it's engaging our principals and school-based personnel in strategic planning and in-person coaching. Any questions around that? The third item we want to present as receive as information for the approval of the agreement with Progress Learning. They changed their name from USA Test Prep. Again, it's a renewal contract using ESSER 3 funds, and it's a way to engage our students in all of the assessments that exist throughout the entire year, project-based software integration. Any questions with Progress Learning?
One quick question. That was the one with the ACT
Yes, ma'am.
assessment attached to it, and is utilized often in our high schools?
It is. Matter of fact, every program, ACT Work Keys, if we're doing with ASVAB, every single assessment that we have, Progress Learning can support us. ACAP, NAEP, every single assessment that we have, it has activities and lessons around the support. So yes, ma'am.
And the students can use it when they're not in school?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's web-based, it's highly interactive, and it's engaging. The next item, receive as information for the approval of the ABT Associates Professional Service Agreement, is no cost to our district, and it is a project-based grant award with the U.S. Department of Education, and is designed to help us improve our grad rates. Any questions there? And again, it's a research opportunity to help improve the grad rates in our high schools.
One quick question, if y'all will. It's really quick. And I know COVID had an impact, but what is our grad rate currently?
It's 82, and I want to make sure. I think that we're cleaning up some things to make sure the final is there. Can I bring that back and make sure I'm totally accurate?
Yes.
Okay. The next item, present and receive as information for the approval of an agreement with Curriculum Management Solutions Professional Services to conduct a curriculum audit in the Montgomery Public School System. And the goal is to make sure that we're implementing to fidelity all our programs, and it's designed to help us ascertain exactly where we are so we can move forward in the improvement of teaching and learning. Again, it will be ESSER 3 funds that we utilized to pay for it. Any questions there? The next item, receive as information for the approval of the agreement with Power School Performance Matters. It is a screening and formative assessment tool to gauge where we are within the year, to make sure if any adjustments need to be made within the year, we're able to do that. Again, it's a renewing contract using ESSER 3 funds.
I'm so sorry, I do have another question. Is this one also aligned with our ACAP, with the new ACAP or whatever?
Yes, ma'am. And every elementary school is excited about the opportunity to not only engage with it, it gives a great predictor of how a student will perform on the actual ACAP. And what I love about it is that within the year, you can make adjustments in instruction and in tiering opportunities of support. And the last item is present and receive as information for the approval of the agreement with Curriculum Associates, iReady. iReady will support our middle schools with the same way that Performance Matters will support our elementary schools. Again, it's with ESSA 3 funds and designed to make sure within the year that we can make adjustments in our instruction. Any questions there?
Mr. Mitchell, I missed the first one. Is Ed Farm with ESSER 3 funds also?
Yes, ma'am. Everything tonight is being paid through ESSA 3 funds.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Are we on the power school one? Wait, which one are we on?
No, we're down on I.
We're in I? Okay, I'm sorry, I was one behind. The power school still has Dr. Moore on it. I don't know if that's important to say or not.
The document
Contract.
does.
Yes. I don't know if that's important to say.
Okay. We'll make the adjustment. We'll get with procurement and make sure that we send the right one there to you all.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Williamson?
Okay, it's not just me.
Good evening,
Oh, there it goes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Brown, Board Chair, Vice Chair, and Board members. I'm here to talk to you about the new law that passed in January for Act 2022 and specifically number 442. It is the mental health opt-in law. And I just wanted it, so it passed, it went into effect in July of 2022. We're required as a school district to add this protection within our board policy. So I wanted to talk with you about what that means for us as a district. And I won't read it to you, but I'll talk to you about the highlights. So one of the things that the law requires is that for any child that is under the age of 14, if they are going to receive ongoing mental health services, the parent must opt in to receive those services. This does not cover any of our guidance and counseling services. They're exempted from this law. Also, this does not cover any of our mandated laws. So for example, Aaron's or Jamari's, Jason Flatt's, any of those that we have to cover with children is exempt from this law. Parents can't opt out of those educational pieces that we have to provide. Annually, we will inform parents of what services we provide as a school district in the way of mental health. Right now, all of our mental health counseling services, any of those ongoing services, are provided through our partners such as school-based mental health through MAMHA, Family Guidance Center, and we have many other partners that work with us. So as far as the distribution of the opt-in for us for this school year, it will be directly tied to those services that we have. We don't currently employ any full-time mental health providers within our district. The law further goes on that we will provide notice to parents about any of those services if we are providing any ongoing mental health services, that we provide an overview to parents and make those resources available to parents so that they can be fully aware of what services are being provided to their child. Parents will have the opportunity to rescind permission if they change their mind about anything that is being provided with their child. And also, parents have the option of opting in at a later point, so it is very flexible according to working with parents and working with students according to the need. Again, this is for our students who are 14 and under, and we have provided this piece for the law. So for our board policy, it will be section 6.30, which falls under our students section. And we have already drafted with our partners what that opt-in piece looks like for our partners. And it's already been that's not the right word, it's already been included in the consent piece with MAMHA. We've already talked with them with Family Guidance. The last piece is for, one more thing. I talked to you about rescinding. One other piece, the last piece that I want to talk about with you is if there is a child that is in imminent danger, this law does not, that we're exempt from that. So if we as a school district determine that a child is in danger to himself or to any of his peers, then we are obligated as a district to still proceed with services as we normally would provide them. Do you have any questions for me about the opt-in law?
What do we have for 15, those over 14?
According to Alabama law, once a child reaches the age of 14, parent does not have to give consent for them to receive medical services.
Madam Chair, I had one correction. Ma'am Hall has now changed their name to Care Star.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, and when you heard, just so that if people are listening, they'll know and won't get confused. The other
Thank
thing is that it's also voluntary for the most part for parents to utilize these services. Am I?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Thank you.
Mr. Watts.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Dr. Brown, you should have before you the financial statement for the month of June 2022. Of course, we know that June represents the 9th month of the fiscal year, which is 75% of the fiscal year. So fiscal year 2022 is almost over. We're in the last quarter of that now. Within the financial statements, you should have the explanation of financial data. Of course, it's just the CSFO's discussion of the financial standing of the district as of June 30th, 2022, a snapshot analysis. It's a brief synopsis of the district's financial position as of June 30th, 2022. Monthly budget percentages, again, 9th month is 75% of the fiscal year. Monthly and annual comparative statement of revenues and expenditures is basically comparative data of our month-to-date and year-to-date revenues and expenditures. And of course, we compare that data to the prior year's revenues and expenditures. Statement of cash flow is each month's cash received and cash expended for the fiscal year. The pie chart of those cash flows is basically a chart or a graph of those cash received and cash paid. Combined financial statements is our combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, or in more general terms, the income statement, along with a balance sheet and a definition of accounting terms. Madam President, we could turn to tab 2 in the financial statement. We would note that current revenues in our general fund are about $190 million, expenditures as of June 30th, about $164 million, a fund balance of about $88 million. We also see our expenditures from 2021 for payroll in 2022. In the last block, we noticed that our general fund balance as of June 2021 was about $58.2 million. Our fund balance as of June 2022 is about $88 million. So we're about $29 million ahead of where we were last year. Of course, we know that our 1 month fund balance requirement is about $19.5 million, so we're about 3 times what the state requires as it relates to fund balance. Again, our revenues as a percentage of the budget is about 76%. Of course, expenditures at about 70%. But of course, again, we're 3/3 of the fiscal year at 75%, so the expenditures at 70% is pretty good. Madam President, I also just want to remind the public that we have 2 budget hearings that are coming up, and I think it's listed on the on the agenda, September 6th at the central office at 4:30, September 13th at Carver High School, and immediately following would be the board meeting. I want to also mention that we did a lawn care bid just previously. I think it was mentioned maybe a couple of months ago that the lawn care bid, of course, went out to the public. We are proud to say that out of the 4 businesses, 3 of those businesses are MBE. And so we've been very, very intentional and purposeful in ensuring that MBEs know that we are here, know that we have various services and are seeking to purchase various goods. And the biggest thing is just letting folk know about it, know what the requirements are, know what you need to do. And so that's what we've been doing. And Ms. Brown, I just wanted to say that we are consistently building our database. We received a list. We've been working with both ADECA at the state along with Alabama State, and has gotten a list of over 200 MBE vendors. And I've already stated to both Chad and the operations department that we want to reach out to these particular vendors when we have goods or services in certain areas that they qualify for. So we are going to continue to build that database and continue to ensure that people are aware and that know that we're here for business.
Thank you, Mr. Watts.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Also, our superintendent will probably be making a recommendation sometime soon as it relates to a few positions that we were prepared to hire out of the ad valorem tax. As you know, the ad valorem tax, well, actually, we won't start collecting those ad valorem taxes until October of 2023, which is fiscal year 2024. Fortunately, we do have ESSER funds. And so what that would allow us to do is to go ahead and hire a few of those positions now, and then when the ad valorem taxes start, those positions will just roll over to the ad valorem taxes because the ESSER funds will be gone. But there are about 2 or 3 positions that our superintendent believed that would be very, very beneficial if we had those positions now. And again, we'll pay for those positions out of ESSER funds. And then next year, after ESSER funds are gone, those positions will roll over to the ad valorem tax, and those positions were identified out of the ad valorem tax dollars anyway. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Another outstanding financial report. We have not spent as much as we could have on expenditures, and revenues are up. Outstanding. Anybody have a question? Thank you, sir. I'll end this meeting with reminding you of what Mr. Watts said, that our September 6th will be our budget hearing, the first one at central office, and the second one will be on September 13th with our budget hearing, followed by a work session and a board meeting. So I will adjourn this meeting and call to order our regular board meeting. We still have a quorum. Can we get an approval of our agenda?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor with a show of hands? Okay. And as always, I like to talk about good things before we get totally going in our meeting here. And as most of you know, today was the first day of school. And I can only judge by the 6 schools I visited this morning that this year is starting off to be a great year. People were organized, they were excited, the schools were decorated, all the things that Mr. Anderson's been working on, these parking lots and the roofs with the new ceilings, we were sparkling this morning. And I think we really are off to a really, really good year. We have some wonderful news to go along with the beginning of the year. In technology, funding for additional student computers that schools have requested, and another year of service for hotspots and bus Wi-Fi are forthcoming. The funding was provided by the FCC's Emergency Connectivity Fund, and we want to especially thank Tony Patterson and the technology support team for securing the funding for this technology for our students. Our students will also benefit from our partnership with Hyundai Motor Manufacturing Alabama, which has been a great partner of ours for so many years. They donated more than $6,000 worth of school uniforms. This back-to-school donation is a tradition that goes back almost 2 decades. But this was the first time that Hyundai has donated uniforms instead of backpacks. One of the neat things about this program is their employees themselves are the one that makes the donation. I'd really like to give Hyundai a round of applause for their continued support. And finally, I want to mention a really cool development at Dalrada Elementary, which recently held the grand opening of its STEM Innovation Lab. The lab actually consists of 2 classrooms, with one oriented toward K through 2 students and the other for 3 to 5. Both will offer hands-on learning experiences in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it will be a place where students will have fun and be creative while learning about key STEM concepts. And I think that deserves a round of applause. And with that, I'd like to turn the podium over to Jade Jones.
Good evening, Madam President. I feel like I'm losing my voice because I was so excited today, Dr. Keith, out in the schools. So if my voice is a little hoarse, that's what it is. We had a great time today. I think we visited, oh goodness, I'll say maybe 4 or 5 schools as well. And again, lots of excitement. We're encouraging everyone to share their photos with us and use the hashtag MPS Rising. So lots of great energy, lots of smiles. So today was a great day. So I'll jump right into our recognitions. Madam President, Dr. Brown, and board members. Tonight I have the honor of bringing up a long-standing community partner, and that would be the Gift of Life Foundation. If Mrs. Traylor and her team and our lead nurses will join me up at the front here, if they're here tonight. Awesome, thank you so much. Now, Madam President, the Gift of Life Foundation has worked with our very own Dr. Williamson and our lead nurses to use their COVID prevention outreach funding to support MPS students. The foundation decided to provide backpacks and COVID prevention supplies to every MPS third grader and provide PPE for their classrooms. Now get this, the donation is valued at $45,000, and that alone deserves a round of applause. And again, the donation includes backpacks, masks for children, Clorox, Lysol wipes, water bottles for students, bottled water in the pallets, tissue, hand sanitizers, pencils, supply pouches, and the list just goes on. And here's a quote from the PR manager who could not be with us tonight, Ms. Mona Davis, and she says, "The Gift of Life is making this donation to help reduce community spread of COVID, especially among our young people, and to support our long-standing partnership with MPS, to support education, and to stay connected with the community. We're proud to say that we have been doing this for the last 30 years. So let's give them another round of applause as we welcome our board members to come down and maybe take a photo with Dr. Brown as well, if you don't mind, with Mrs. Taylor. Do you not mind? Traylor, excuse me, and our nurses and other staff members. And I do believe they have a special token. Would you like to share what this is? And this is Mrs. Traylor.
Greetings, everyone. This is from the Gift of Life Foundation. our board of directors. We just want to say thank you to all of you. Dr. Brown, this is specifically, we're giving this to you today to say welcome. We're glad to have you on board.
Can we get everybody to move down? That would be good. Can we get her scooting down this way so we can get?
A little more. There you go. 2 more big steps.
Yeah, a little bit more.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you all so much. And again, thank you to the Gift of Life Foundation.
Oh, it is dry. Next one, I'm turning this way, it's freezing. It's very annoying. I know, it's like either a spotlight or you're sweating, but I know though, you're all gotta get warm. You see that?
Okay. We have scheduled public comments coming up. Is Ms. Simmons will be coming forward. Let me read the instructions here. Public comments requests must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 on the Tuesday preceding the meeting date. Request must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or designee. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes. The board chair has full authority to terminate the remarks of any person whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended, when asked to stop speaking by the board chairman, or is otherwise inappropriate. If a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, and or off of MPS property, depending on the level of disruption. Okay, so we have Ms. Simmons.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Brown, board members, and Mr. Watts in the audience. My name is Kathy Simmons, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the substitute of Montgomery County. I recently learned that we received a raise, went from 70 to 30 for the daily subs, 130 for the long-term subs, which is a $10 raise. I applaud the board for the raise, but I'm speaking upon the raise of the long-term subs. We are your certified teachers that come into the classroom, and we work from 3 to 9 months. In my case, I did a whole year. I'm saying that we appreciate the raise, but if we're going to do it across the board, I feel like the long-term subs should have received a $30 raise as well. The reason I say that is because we become the teacher in that classroom. I'm not saying that the daily subs don't do a good job and don't deserve the $30 raise, but they come in for that day and they leave out. The long-term sub becomes that teacher to teach those boys and girls so they'll be equipped and ready to move on to the next grade level. Like I said before, in my case, I did a whole year, so I had to be there daily. The daily sub comes in, she's there for that day, and she leaves out. She may not come back in that building for a whole month. So what I'm saying is that your certified teachers, I think, will be more sufficient if we have received the raise across the board. We have a county that's next to us that receives more than Montgomery County had received. We have a charter school that was paying more than Montgomery County was paying their daily subs. We have the private schools that receive more than we receive. So I'm not saying, again, that they don't deserve the raise they receive, but we are the certified ones, and I'm not saying that there are not some certified daily subs that come in. But I'm asking Mr. Watts and I'm asking the board to reconsider, to look back at the pay raise that you gave and see, because our Alabama teachers are receiving a raise this year also, and I feel like the long-term subs, again, are in there teaching, taking the role as a teacher, teaching the boys and girls what they need to have and what they need to be equipped with. As we say, we want no child left behind. So I'm asking you, and I guarantee that if you look at that again, that you will get subs. And we ask ourselves why we don't have enough subs in Montgomery County, because they're going elsewhere because of the pay. It may come back to us this year because we're receiving $100 daily subs, and the 120, from 120 to 130, to me was a slap in the face, because we have gone to school. And we become those teachers in the classroom for those kids. And let me again say, we have something we call a breakout plan. And if you're in there subbing, and Ms. Williams, I'm taking her place, but Ms. Jones is out, and there's not a sub, then I receive some of her kids as well as a long-term sub. Now I take on the role of someone else's kids as well. So again, I ask the board to reconsider, to go back and look at the long-term subs receiving more than a $10 raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Dr. Brown.
Thank you. I think we're good now. Okay. For our consent agenda, I'd like to submit that for approval by the board tonight, and allow those things to be approved for consideration.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? Dr. Brown?
Thank you, Madam President. Submitting the personnel report, certified personnel, for approval.
Do we have a motion?
Madam President, I make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the personnel report, certified personnel.
I second.
Here's what I found.
Sorry.
No discussion. All right.
Sorry.
Sarah needs to vote too.
It's all good.
What about that?
I'm submitting the personnel report, classified personnel, for approval.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for personnel report, classified personnel.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? Okay, unanimous. Dr. Brown?
I'm recommending the personnel report teams to the board for approval.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the personnel report teams.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? Okay, unanimous. Again, on September the 6th at 4:30, we will have a budget hearing at the central office. And we will have a second hearing on September the 13th, followed by a work session and a board meeting. And with that, we are adjourned.
What in the world happened? It's all that, though.
Yeah, but you It's one of those keys that you get for Siri.